بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم. Dear brothers and sisters everywhere, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today inshallah we're going to resume our reflections on Surah Taha, and we have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قَالَ أَلْقِهَا يَا Musa. Allah said, cast it down, O Musa. Throw down the stick in your right hand, Musa. Throw it on the ground, as Musa is taught to do when he meets Pharaoh. And the stick broke the law, which Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam is aware of. It's no longer used for leaning and assisting in sheep feeding, but it changes from the genus of wood to the genus of animal and becomes alive. قال ألقها يا موسى فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى. He cast it down, and behold, it was a snake moving quickly. This means that the stick quickly transformed into a massive snake similar to a long python. It moved at breakneck speed. فألقاها فإذا هي حية تسعى, moving quickly, moving around erratically. And this is a significant shift in the issue of the stick, as it was possible to demonstrate the miracle of the stick, which is a dry stick of wood transformed into a green tree, for example. But the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty Allah, performs this miracle for Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam, because he will need it later. And if the stick turns into a green tree, it will settle in its place. But if it turns into a snake, it's a moving animal running here and there, and Musa will need this in his next battle. Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam threw his staff, فَإِذَا هِيَ, and behold it is, which means Prophet Musa was caught off guard. As you say, خرجت فإذا أسد بالباب. When I walked out, there was a lion at the door. When Prophet Musa ﷺ threw the stick, it quickly transformed into a serpent, despite the fact that it was dry and withered. Prophet Musa ﷺ was understandably terrified by what he saw. So his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala reassured him and said, قال خذها ولا تخف. Said he, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, take it up and have no fear. That's, hold it in your hand, and we will immediately restore it to its original state and form. سيرتها الأولى. That's as a dry stick in your hand. And he said, لا تخف, don't be afraid, because of the signs of fear on his face. So Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was really terrified and really fearful of what he had just seen. قال خذها ولا تخف سنعيدها سيرتها الأولى. We shall return it to its former state, the form in which it was previously recognized. The form that you are or were familiar with. Allah does incredible things with his staff that he could never have imagined, and this is part of his preparation for his assignment. Therefore, he witnessed the great miracle that occurs every moment while people are unaware of it. That's the miracle of life. The staff transformed into a swiftly moving snake. Millions and millions of lifeless atoms or objects are constantly transformed into living things, but they do not fill man with wonder and amazement like a staff being transformed into a snake. Man inhabits a world defined by his senses and experiences. He is limited to what he can perceive. To see a wooden staff transformed into a fast-moving snake was bound to shock his senses. As a result, he was extremely alert. The hidden aspects of how life began and the miraculous nature of life springing up at every moment are too subtle for man's mind and imagination to grasp. This is especially true when something becomes overly familiar and thus goes unnoticed. العادة تسقط الدهشة, as you all know. This was a practice and experiment for Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because the stick is important in his message, and it will be his miracle in his battle with Pharaoh, Pharaoh, when he hits the sea with it, and in his call to the children of Israel, when he hits the stone and water gushes out of it. So his staff plays a significant role in his assignment and in his mission. The Quran mentioned this story several times, the story of Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the story of Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his challenge with Pharaoh is the most often repeated story in the Quran, more than any other story of any other prophet or messenger, including Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Quran mentioned this story several times, once referring to the stick as a snake, and once it said a serpent, and yet again it says Jan. Which one of these was the stick? The Quran describes the stick with 3 different descriptions in 3 different locations or places in the Quran. And the truth is that these are various images of the stick after it has been altered and changed and transformed by Allah's will subhanahu wa ta'ala. On the other hand, it's a serpent in its capacity as a deadly killer, a snake in its capacity as a huge creature, and a jinn in its capacity as a swift moving creature. And all of these characteristics were in the stick. And when all of these shots are collected, it gives you the complete picture of the stick after it became alive. The Quranic verses are then combined to form the desired image of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاضْمُمْ يَدَكَ إِلَى جَنَاحِكَ تَخْرُجْ بَيْضَاءَ مِنْ غَيْرِ سُوءٍ آيَةً أُخْرَى. وَاضْمُمْ يَدَكَ إِلَى جَنَاحِكَ, and press your hand to your side. Place your palm beneath your upper arm. When Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam put his hand into the opening of his garment and pulled it out, it shone like a half moon. تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء. It will come forth white without any disease. This means free of leprosy, illness, or disfigurement. He brought it out, and by Allah, it was as if it were a lamb. And this is the saying of Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri rahimahullah. Prophet Musa knew he had finally met his Lord, the mighty and sublime subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam described the Prophet Musa as a man of high stature, as if he were of the people of the Shanua tribe. When asked to describe the messengers he met on the journey of Al-Isra and Al-Mi'raj. As a result, the whiteness and light tan color of Prophet Musa's hand were some of Allah's signs, and if Prophet Musa had been white in color, the whiteness of his hand wouldn't have appeared. واضمم يدك إلى جناحك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء آية أخرى لنريك من آياتنا الكبرى, that we may show you some of our greater signs. That we show you the wondrous signs we have as a foreshadowing to you, so that when we command you something like this, you will know that the one commanding you is a Lord who will not deceive or abandon you, but will support and assist you. So do not be discouraged, fearful, or back down. It's as if Almighty Allah is preparing His Prophet Musa for a confrontation with his adversary, Pharaoh, who claimed divinity. After this charge and practical experience, he says to him, اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Go to Pharaoh, verily he has transgressed. Go to Pharaoh, Egypt's ruler, whom you fled from, and invite him to worship Allah alone, who has no partners. Charge him with treating the children of Israel well and not tormenting them. So why did he send him to Pharaoh first rather than his people? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send Prophet Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam to Pharaoh first and not to his people, or rather than his people, the children of Israel? Scholars say that this is because, or that was because, Pharaoh committed a grave and a heinous act by claiming divinity, which is the pinnacle of aggression, and then enslaving the children of Israel. We must first settle that situation with Pharaoh. And the Almighty says, إِنَّهُ طَغَى. Indeed, he has transgressed. He has indeed transgressed, oppressed, preferred the worldly life and forgotten the Most High Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tyranny, tyranny is defined as going beyond the limit. And going beyond the limit means taking what is not yours and exaggerating it. He didn't even take from his equal among the servants, but he took what Allah Almighty's attributes he lacked. When Prophet Musa heard the name Pharaoh, he remembered what had happened to him in Egypt and how he was raised in the house of this Pharaoh who claimed divinity. So how would he deal with him? He also remembered the man he had poked and killed, and how he had fled Egypt in terror. When Prophet Musa felt the burden was too much for him, he said, قال رب اشرح لي صدري قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري. O my Lord, open for me my chest and ease my task for me. Prophet Musa asked his Lord Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to expand his chest in preparation for this mission. He was commanding him with a large and weighty task. He was delivering him to the world's mightiest king at the time. In his disbelief, he was the most arrogant and severe of all people, with the most powerful army and kingdom. He was the most despotic and obstinate ruler. His case was such that he claimed to know nothing about Allah and to have no God for his subjects other than himself. Prophet Musa lived in his home as a child as well. He slept in Pharaoh's room on Pharaoh's bed. Following that, he killed one of their people, fearing that they would kill him in retaliation. As a result, he fled and spent the entire time as an outlaw. His Lord then sent him to them as a warning, urging them to worship Allah alone, without associating partners with him. That's why he said, قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري. O my Lord, open for me my chest and ease my task for me. As if he said, O Lord, I will carry out your orders, but I don't want to take on this task with a heavy heart, because chest contractions waste and dissipate energy and help events against the soul. That's why Prophet Musa prayed, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Lord, open for me my chest to save his strength for this difficult task that requires an appropriate effort. And this means that his chest contracted from meeting Pharaoh for the reasons we have just stated. I cannot complete this task unless you assist, help, and support me. And this is true. This is true of all callers to Islam and the truth. They seek refuge, help, and assistance from Allah alone. They would be unable to complete their missions without His assistance subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he said, وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and ease my task for me. Because simply opening or expanding the chest is insufficient in this case. The doer of the action, Prophet Musa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has his chest opened, but he may find that the addressee, Pharaoh, is extremely obstinate and stubborn. Hence he added, وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and ease my task for me, so that I don't find oppression and tyranny from Pharaoh, implying that the matter will be facilitated from the caller's side once the addressee's chest is open. Dear brothers and sisters, here we come to the end of this episode. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.